is money.
It's nothing.
Balling. Premium or nothing.
When them or nothing.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Couch Chronicles After Dark.
Welcome.
Hello, ladies.
We in the building.
So let's do a little bit of a check-in for our mindfulness practice today. I want to hear a little bit about how your week has been and if there's anything that you're feeling proud of that you want to share.
My week has been going great. I have to say that I am getting everything done from work to personal to husband. Since we're talking about therapists after dark, we're in the dark. Wow. But either way, I have felt I'm proud of 2 workshops that I have coming along that currently I'm promoting. So I was able to do the promotion for those. And also just some changes that I'm making to our website and just kind of feeling accomplished this week.
Yeah.
Well, this week for me has been a bit of a transition, but I feel like it has been going well. And I've been giving myself the space to just kind of like navigate and let whatever comes up, come up.
Nice.
I'm also proud of me noticing like critical or negative thoughts like coming and going and not latching onto them or spiraling further around them, because that is something that I have a real tendency to do. But I haven't really kind of like stuck in that too hard, which is great that the mental health work is working.
Good deal,
Mind you, being kind to yourself. I'm glad to hear it.
Thank you.
My week has been going well. It's been steady. I think that I'm most proud of being more in tune with my boundaries and like what my limits are. Y'all been friends with me for a long time, so you know that I can really stretch it. I can sometimes have it needs to get done, so I'm going to do it mentality. And I think I've really been working hard to shift that and like doing the things that are required of me that are aligned with my values and knowing when to take a break. So I'm feeling proud of that. Things that I want to continue to work on is like verbalizing that to my loved ones, so they're not like, where's this bitch been at? Chasing me down like, girl, where are you?
Why are you isolating? Is everything okay?
So I mean, people know my patterns, but I have been trying to be more vocal with like what I need. And I'm proud that I've been doing that more.
Something you did a week ago that I felt like I appreciated was that you realized that you needed to change your scenery, you needed a reset, and you went to visit one of your friends.
I got the fuck. I went to Bermuda.
So I was proud of you for doing that. You still work, but you also like did what worked, and you know you needed a reset. So,
and it was really nice. I kind of did an abbreviated schedule, but I think that like the work-life balance there is much easier. So I was able to like do things like take a swim before, get a little bit of ocean on me before getting my day started. Me and my homegirl got matcha every day. It's very it's a very slow pace. Like people are not so like, I gotta be to work at this time. I gotta be doing this. It's just like,
that's the thing about the island.
Cool.
Time don't
We're gonna go get a latte. We're gonna go to do this. We'll make it back when we make it back. And I really appreciate that slowdown. But also like, I think me and this particular friend have a relationship that we can like use each other's space for that reason. Like,
good deal.
When I need a break, I can go there. When she needs a break, she can come here. And
that's awesome.
It's low pressure, so yeah.
Good to you. Those bi-coastal, the friendships.
Appreciate it.
The benefit is truly unlimited.
Appreciate it.
All right, friend, before we get into our topic, we do want to put a disclaimer around what we're going to talk about today. It is a sensitive subject, so we also don't recommend that if you have young children, you have them around. It could also be triggering to you as well. So if you need to take a break as you listen to the episode, please do so. But we want to make sure that you take care of yourself and put the disclaimer that it is a sensitive subject that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. So today we're going to get a little bit more into the mind of female predators, particularly from the angle of talking about the documentary Unknown Caller. I know that's been hot and popping these particular days.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into a little bit of a summary?
Yes.
Yeah, I could
Sure.
read. So Unknown Caller came out on Netflix August 29th, which tells a story of a serious case of cyberbullying and catfishing in Michigan. So the victims were a 13-year-old girl named Lauren Licari and her middle school boyfriend, Owen McKinney. Over 2 years, they received disturbing anonymous messages that contained sexual content, cruel taunts, and suicide encouragement. And the documentary revealed that the anonymous bully turned out to be Lauren's own mother.
Spoiler alert.
Kendra Licari. So Kendra pled guilty in 2023 to 2 counts of stalking a minor, and she was sentenced to 19 months in prison. And she claimed that she was trying to protect her daughter based on her own past sexual assault trauma. But even the documentary's director suggests that Kendra may not have fully understand her motivations. There were countless other disturbing behaviors that were exhibited by Kendra, including fabricating that she was still employed. She also did not disclose what was going on financially to her husband and to her family. And just in a way really did a lot of disrupting to the case at hand, because it was over 22 months that the event of her stalking and cyberbullying her child and her child's
like
boyfriend was almost 2 years. But when the investigation took place, I think it was at the 15-month mark or whatever part that she did a lot of things to get in the way of that. So we have a packed full episode talking about this case, but ultimately the larger scope of female predators, female sexual, pedophiles. Yeah. So that's why we had the disclaimer earlier in the episode, but I feel like that's a little bit deeper than what the Netflix documentary covered.
Depicted. Yeah. I think that so many things came up for me while watching. One, a deep sadness for the daughter and the friend. There was a lot of interference in what seemed to be like a natural community and connection because of the text messages itself. But then after it being revealed that it was her mom and seeing the daughter want to really still have a connection with her, it definitely had my therapist bells ringing around abuse. Because it seemed very much like the daughter was maybe not being physically abused, but definitely some emotional abuse there around the connectedness to mom. It seemed like she really needed mom for a lot of things. Mom maybe positioned herself to be there, kind of grooming her to need her mother significantly. So there was one part where some family members were talking about mom almost setting up the situations so that her daughter can come home and confide in her. Right. And so a lot of things went off for me around what is mom's mental health stuff? Mom's got some stuff going on where she is weaponizing her sensitivities. And I think even throughout the process of her being prosecuted, the approach seemed very off to me. The messages were very explicit, graphic, sexual in nature. And I wholeheartedly believe that if she was perhaps a different color or gender, that the approach that the police took,
Absolutely.
the urgency would have been totally different.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of factors involved. The fact that one, they were in a very small rural town. And that has a lot of factors that will muddle up the situation. Because if this would have maybe happened in a more of a like a major city, I think things would have looked different. If there was that the intersectional piece of race being on there, that would have looked a little bit different. And I also think that it's important for us to separate the mental health dysfunction that's clearly there in the mom and the daughter dynamic, and also the aftermath of what the daughter is going to be experiencing because of that relationship. And then the sexual depravity and the dysfunction that also showed up there as well,
which was not talked a lot about in the Netflix documentary, right? I think that they focused heavily on like identifying it and describing it as catfishing, stalking. But the sexual nature of the text messages alluded to much more in the mom's psyche. Perhaps I think that if this was a client that I was seeing, I would be curious and asking more questions around like her interest and like sexual attraction with young kids.
Well, you know, first of all, Stephanie told us about this documentary. So thank you for that. But can I be quite frankly honest? One, I remember the story way back when, but I didn't connect the dot until it was revealed that it was mom. But I also was taken back as the way that Netflix was telling the story through everybody's lens, which I think they did a great job. Yeah. And the fact that in the beginning and throughout, as the story's being told, you are seeing this emotional reaction from mom
that would not have alluded to her being the damn.
That would have not alluded to her being that. So to me, the fact that she was able to act and tell the story that well in the composure that she did.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, was that editing or was that like?
But I think also that just tells you to the degree of her own mental dysfunction.
That's exactly where I was.
She's able to still perceive herself as a victim of this a circumstance that she created.
Yeah. Right. Which is exactly what predators do. Right?
Correct.
So predators they feel like they are the victim in in their story. So I think it's very interesting. And yes, I do believe that there is a disparity or discrimination around when it comes to women predator and the fact that she's a white woman and yes, in a rural area. But even if she was in a rural area, would it have been different if it was the husband?
Oh, for sure.
Who ended up being the one that was
the way that the police handled it? It would have been different. It would have been different
if it was a male.
Because the fact that they even like went to her house to tell her, like, I'm telling you about the neighborhood, the neighbor's house got broken into. Did you get any information? Like that's how they came to her, as if she wasn't the person that did the crime. And then disclosed it in front of the daughter. Yeah. Which is telling you right there, they didn't see it as a sexual case.
Correct.
That's not how you handle the apprehension of a criminal when they're the perpetrator.
Exactly.
Some of the language and like the way that they described how she would approach and like interact with the daughter's middle school boyfriend. It also alluded to her perhaps like having some sort of infatuation or crush on him.
Yes.
And it just was so interesting to me that they focused so little on the sexual nature of her messages. And I wholeheartedly believe that would have been a bigger deal if it was the husband or if it was, someone other than a fragile presenting white woman.
Right. And then if you think about it, when the boyfriend when it was revealed that it was her, he had to go back and realize how he was also being groomed.
Yeah.
So he was like, she would cut my steak for me. And he thought
she would show up to my game.
He would show up to my game even when she
they had
wasn't
broken
present.
up.
She would always want to do things for him. And that is such a I mean, full disclosure, I don't even know if I've really shared this with you all. I had experiences with older people that I was like groomed.
Yeah.
And I think that I had like enough monitoring and supervision around me to not really fall into it. But I think that people definitely tried it, coaches and things like that.
For sure.
And
Female
It
coaches?
is male.
Oh, okay.
Male coaches?
But it is jarring to have a relationship dynamic with someone that you like trust and are like perhaps vulnerable with, and be looking at them as more like a authority and parent figure, and then they like make a sexual comment towards you, or you realize like, oh, their interest in me is deeper than like wanting to help me as a child.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
It is.
It's really
It is.
like sometimes I think that sometimes people also take on this idea of like, am I doing something to seem that way?
Right.
Yeah.
Or
When it
am I
has
like
nothing to
putting
do with
myself
you.
in a position? And I think that society will also look at that as like, this person's acting grown, or like when you have those types of relationships,
Where the
not
victim
really
ends up being the one that gets
the
blamed
problem,
versus what's it called? Because if you notice, even in the documentary, people
They
were
thought it
saying
was
that she was
her.
making it up.
Yeah.
That she was like,
Yeah.
because she was acting odd. Like she would
Yeah.
be very isolated, or she was starting to
Yeah.
act, I guess, in erratic ways.
Yeah.
Like you can even see from her demeanor, she seemed kind of checked out in the very beginning
Yeah.
of the documentary, which shows you the level of disassociation that often happens with somebody who's being
just being
sexually
completely
violated,
disconnected.
abused. And mind you, it's not, and people think that it's, like the person actually has to be touched in order for there to be an impact.
No.
From at least what it said, neither her nor the boyfriend were actually physically kind of
It's just the
violated
emotion.
by Kendra, the mom, but they still feel the effects of what it's like to, like you said,
The
have
emotional
to-
manipulation, the wording, the so here's the thing.
disruption of trust
Of
of
trust
what
that
I
they
felt
were
it
just
was.
broken.
like the
Yeah.
trust disruption. It can really follow you in so many other relationships.
For
that you
sure.
have.
Well, let's look at the role of women
Yeah.
we play, right? When we look at women are nurturers, they're safe, they're soft, they're the one that will help you. So if something happened and I'm in the street and I see a man or I see a woman, I'm more open to think that the woman is more safer for me
Right.
than the man will be more safer for me. So that's why when you look at a lot of female predators, they can go unnoticed, and not only go unnoticed, but when they do get persecuted or when they do get caught, the sentence is less because there's
more
some
sympathy.
sort of empathy that plays with
Yes.
it because of the
Like
role.
there's an implicit bias
There's
that
an-
works
there you go.
toward their plight
Toward the-
instead of
exactly.
toward that of the child.
Exactly, because even with the judge, as the judge was sentencing mom, also expressed like empathy, like I hope you get some help. We know da. All of that plays a role, which feeds into her character.
Yeah.
Which feeds into the woman's like, I'm sick, I'm not okay. This was, and then it goes back into she's the victim in this.
Yes.
Right? Nobody want to know my story. Nobody didn't know about my childhood. Because that's basically after it was revealed, she still did not take full accountability and saying, I did this. She said, well, I didn't start it.
Which she most certainly did. Because there has been no evidence that
she
anybody
didn't
else
start it.
started
That
it.
also is part of my thing of like I have to minimize my level of responsibility
Yes.
in order for me to be able to swallow the depth of what it is that I did.
And that's how she was able to keep going, because predators convince themselves, because I'm the victim, this is the reason why this happened to me.
Yeah.
I was this when I was younger. This happened to me. And I love how Netflix had the cousin who knew her come along, because the cousin was like, you could be here talking to me. She was always been like this, and she'll try to get
some sort of attention, yeah.
So we know, like, I think having the other person coming in who saw the other side kind of out, if you are the predator, out the victim, was like, well, this is how you saw it one way. When someone is a villain or a predator, right? They're very tunnel vision about the world is against me. They won't understand. It's me. I'm the one who is getting hurt. I'm the one who's being affected. So if you let her know, well, I was sexually assaulted. I was trying to make sure that I took all precautions to make sure this doesn't happen to my daughter, which include inflicting the same amount of pain that you inflict on your daughter.
Where were the precautions?
Where's the precaution? So then you...
the precaution was that she came back to me and I nursed her back to health.
Yeah.
After, what's it called? I'm the one that kicked her and bruised her and did all of those different things.
But even down to, you told your daughter to go kill herself. And remember her response? I know that she wouldn't.
Yeah.
I know that.
But that's
she
also
wouldn't.
the false sense of what's it called? I would say the false sense that I've done enough and I've instilled enough in my child in order for them to be strong enough. Like you could tell, like they didn't even see their daughter as a living person who could be impacted by somebody, like, or by something that I did. I just saw them as somebody who is a character in the story in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
And she had to kind of continue to maintain that story, that character, or Kendra would get upset, which is part of what would happen, which was not covered in the Netflix documentary. They covered it in I believe it's the Cut article. And in the Cut article, they talked about they showcased a little bit more of the grooming process. And I want to be clear because I think people use the word grooming a lot without really understanding what it means. So grooming is a manipulative process that builds trust and emotional connection in order to exploit, control, and abuse another person. The tactics aren't necessarily super unique based on gender, but they can be adapted to fit, the different role that the person is playing in the victim's life. So when in the Cut article, it talked about how when Lauren, that's her daughter, was not interacting with Owen, which is the boyfriend, the way that Kendra wanted to, she would blow up her daughter's phone, telling her, go sit next to him, go do this, go do that, which is the control, right? The coercion part that comes with the abuse, but also trying to, again, you guys are characters in my story that I'm running in my head. You have to play this role. And if I'm trying to plug myself in, like she tried to live vicariously through Lauren to live out an experience that she wanted to have, you need to do exactly what I want you to do.
Yeah. And I think that's where the predatory part comes in, right? Yeah. That was not really talked about a lot. That like the many of the behaviors that she was engaging with were for the sake of getting a teenage male's attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
That by definition
is predatory.
And even at the time, I believe they weren't teens. They were
11 and 12 years old. It's a child.
So very much. And that's also the added piece of they were pre-pubescent when this started and continued on into, yes, they became teens, but that's where the pedophilia aspect comes into, is that they were literally before they were.
So why do you think
developed.
Netflix and the charges were stalker of a minor and not pedophilia? Like she should be on the list
because the physical aspect, like I was saying, is that I don't think
white woman.
It's the fact that she was a white woman, but genuinely, I really think what it was because there was no act. There was no sexual act. That's why they didn't put it under as like, oh, she needs to be tried for sexual harassment or sexual molestation or any of that.
I believe that that sexual harassment could have perhaps
like at least a third degree. I don't know, first degree, maybe even second, but we don't know degree of it.
We know that,
and we do know. I think as Tyler keeps bringing up about her race, if it was another race and another gender, they would have thrown the book.
Yeah.
Every
and
single.
I think that
what if she was a black woman?
No, I think that to even state the fact that she really like
a pillar of community too.
Not even that, right? She weaponized her mental health and like really victimized herself in the court case. And that created, again, was also a way to manipulate the crowd.
Control. Yep.
It made
she had a crowd. She was okay with the crowd.
Her audience, and she definitely manipulated the crowd. Yeah. Even the daughter feeling sympathy for her being in jail.
Yeah.
I think the only person
remember the emails that she sent to her, which is part of the grooming process.
The only person that responded with sense to me was the dad. He was ready to knock her fucking head off.
Get her ass out of here.
But also because what are you talking about? Like the curtains of like his of her lies fully opened up. It was like,
that's the thing about it is that she also made him to feel like he was the villain, and that's what he was saying. So the whole time you're accusing me of not showing up, not securing the family and not doing this, I'm not crazy. I know I'm working hard. I know I'm bringing the money. I know I'm not misusing of the money. But she also got into his own psyche of his own sense of inadequacy and worthlessness. And that's what he was sharing.
And I think that's a key thing for when you think about someone who is a predator, right?
Yeah.
They really are calculated and will identify the thing. They will really identify what your kryptonite is, what that core premise is, and really attach to that and use that to help to make sure that you fall in line with whatever their
and that is, like you said, targeting vulnerabilities.
Because I also think Dad was a victim too.
No, he definitely was.
Sure.
I mean, she literally they foreclosed on 2 houses because she did not tell them of her financial
and their
problems.
storage. He was lost everything that he had worked for.
He felt like were important items to his life were gone. You could tell he felt very a broken man at that point. And so they definitely target vulnerabilities. They fill a void. So she was also everywhere when it came to both her daughter and
she
what's
did
called
everything for the family. They made a big point about that. Like the things that they did as a family were organized by her. She took care of the finances. And so she developed this system
she had control.
where they needed her.
They needed her, but she controlled everything.
She controlled everything so that she could have a way to manage everything.
Yes. And oftentimes that is seen to them as that's my purpose. That's my job. Like I'm helping my family. That's how it'll be kind of set up or at least
that's what the cousin also
folks.
said. The cousin said that if she needed Kendra,
she would be helpful.
She could call her and she knows she'll show up. So that the part of that, creating this persona, I'm a good person. Yeah, I will drop everything I do to come and help. The performance of good person. There you go. And the performance, I think, play a huge role.
Which would also remember how we were talking about why I think that she has more of the histrionic personality disorder than maybe more of the traditional borderline that other folks have said. Mind you, she might have the borderline, but if we think of histrionic is playing this, always looking as if I'm needed, I'm loved, I always have a purpose in your life, and all of those other things in order to have a self-serving. It's not that I'm fearful.
But this is This is the part where we talk about not necessarily the borderline, but the narcissism part, the narcissistic personality disorder.
The narcissistic part of where you and I are not on the same level. That's why she had to literally push her daughter down to nothing.
Exactly,
because she was what's it called? Transferring a bit of her identity into her daughter
that.
or into who she wanted her to be. But I can't, if I'm, get high off of, or my self-worth is tied around being better, I have to do something to either make somebody else small and make me feel like you're smaller and less than I am.
How do you think that experiences that kids have like this with harm or abuse, manipulation from a parent can also shape the way that they interact with other people romantically, or even how they can kind of get caught up in grooming on the internet, things like that?
Well, look at the daughter. She's a perfect example of she's a shell of what she could have, or even what, you could tell the difference between the beginning of the documentary when they showed her towards the end of the documentary when they showed her. She is a you're not going to really trust your own judgment.
Right. Or anyone else, because your primary caregiver and the person who shaped themselves as someone who cared for you, who loves you so much, told you to kill yourself.
Deceived you.
There's a break in this idea, the dialectical tension is so heavy there, because it's how do I really even know what love is if the person that showed me what that was turned out to be this?
The deceptor.
Yeah.
True. I mean, will break you too.
True. I think, you're right. If that's like you said, one of the sides of the refrigerator. When I look at this particular case, I think that Lauren will have lean more towards questioning herself, because she literally went to her mom to tell her, and her mom made it that way, how to feel, how to think, how to act, how to treat me, how to be here. She always, even Kendra, the mom, she uses language where it makes her and her daughter the same person. They're one. We. Us.
Well, think about, it's so funny you said that, because I'm thinking of a part of the show, the documentary, where they said that when they were describing Lauren, when she all of a sudden was becoming the villain.
Yes.
They said that she's isolated. She is all about winning, and she doesn't lose. She thinks she's the best at this and the best at that. If they're one and the same, there's certain characteristic that she
she's
also
pumping
also
into,
possessing,
exactly.
and teaching.
So when it comes to Lauren trusting herself, and I had this entity who tell me, "Hey, you the best out there." Remember, Kendra was also the coach. That's how evolved and wrapped around she was in her daughter's life. Her daughter couldn't even escape her if she wanted to. Whatever sport the daughter played, she coached it.
There was one particular part that made my like skin crawl.
Yeah.
When they were when the police had come to the house and they were investigating and the daughter's there and she kept like wanting to hold the daughter and hug the daughter and like touch the daughter. It literally, I had a visceral reaction
here.
because
I had
I'm
the
like,
same thing.
Immediately I'm like, what? You're already in narrative mode. You're already in like,
I don't want to leave her. I don't want to leave her.
How can I shape this to make myself the victim here?
Yes. Yes.
That's so interesting because I saw it as, I don't know how to emotionally regulate without my daughter. That's how I saw
That's
it.
one way.
Sure.
And then, but I'm with Tyler, like my skin did crawl because at that point I felt like I could feel Lauren.
Yes.
I could feel the numbness that's happening, the confusion where it's like, I don't know if I even want you to touch me or if I don't know. It's like, there's a sense of.
She wasn't
sure. Okay, so let me tell you guys a little bit more from the Cut article. Supposedly by that point, Lauren had already been potentially questioning, could it be my mom? Which shows you right there what was happening inside the home at that point. Because like, as you know, like as the ante started to like increase with the cops and now the FBI and all this other stuff. Kendra is starting to get like more erratic. She's becoming more paranoid. She's becoming more on edge, which means are you okay? Okay. Which means that she's probably going to be more exercising of that control. She's going to be even more cold fist and all of those other things toward her daughter. And so I think at that point, not only is if can I trust you is probably something that's running through her mind. It's like, wait, could this have been like this been true all the time? And then when she starts to finally cry, it's like this like acceptance or this like coming to the fact like, oh, like my family is broken. Like my family, like this is whatever I think knew even in that or whatever moment, was normal to me is done now.
Even in that moment, villainizing the dad.
Yes.
Like very much like you obviously there needs to be some space.
Yeah.
And him having to be the person to say that already put him
like
in the
she
position
needs to go,
of being the villain.
Yeah.
When it was very clear that like you are abusing your child. That is abuse. And I hate that it was minimized to stalking and catfishing.
Agreed.
Because the language that she was using was abusive.
Yeah.
And if it had come from a stranger even,
Yeah.
I think that it would have been looked at as abuse.
Equally abused.
Yeah.
If it had come from someone who had not positioned themselves already or had not already created the narrative of who she was with everybody that was involved, it would have gone completely different. I felt so much sadness for Lauren and like thinking about what that's going to be like for her as she continues to grow up. Like even seeing her as a teen now, like she seems so sad. And confused and disconnected.
Mind you, she's also became a piranha in her school. Like people like know her as that girl that her mom sent like
you're carrying that
crazy text messages to you, and then the popular guy, which Owen like seems to be right, like in school, like I know we talk a lot about Lauren, but also he was heavily impacted by what was going on because she started like negging him. Like she started she started being
he had to end up a relationship.
Not only
ending
the
several relationships, finding other people that he was connected to
stalk. So it's like this
and then
thing
his
of
own
like
self-worth. She started attacking his own self-worth as well.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like she started coming at him because he now felt like I have to respond in like protective mode, which comes with a little bit more aggression. So you asked Tyler, like, what are some ways in which that like sexual abuse or sexual exploitation can show up? It can show up in aggression and anger and what's it called? being hyper vigilant, feeling like someone is trying to like hurt you or take you or take something from you, like not being able to feel comfortable. Like you finally found a girl outside of your town, away from everything, you feel comfortable, your system is starting to relax, and then all of a sudden it's back up again because your girl is telling you, hey, I got a random message from this phone number. And now you're like, I can't escape. What is the point? And so there's a certain helplessness and hopelessness that will settle in somebody who has been sexually exploited. And so people might ask Tyler, well, I mean, it was just text messages. Like, well, how was that abuse? When you expose a kid to that degree of sexual language and sexual imagery,
unwanted, unprovoked,
that they were not
like
aware of,
before their mind developmentally can understand what that is creating and shifting different mapping in their brain around this subject. So in the future, when maybe somebody sends you a saucy text message, you'll start to feel shame and guilt and discomfort. Should I be feeling aroused around this thing? Is this okay and safe? Like, because I got exposed to it at a time that was really outside of my scope of understanding. And so that now I'm questioning if it's okay for me to feel this way as I get older.
Or just kind of not being sure about what the lines are between adult and child, right? Like, is it appropriate for adults to discuss or talk about these particular things with me or to approach me in this way? I think that I want to ask you all, what are some maybe more like subtle signs of grooming that you all have seen with clients or that you're aware of?
I would say subtle ones is that the adult, the predator, constantly volunteering to help and assist as if like, oh, they're just a nice person. They're this and they're that. But it's the...
Like always finding a way to be of use.
Yes.
Like finding a way to always be like in the person's life.
Doing something. Because like I said, even if you look at it, Kendra did a whole wraparound with her daughter and even Owen all the kids who were blamed. She had a relationship. She was the coach of these girls who were blamed, and she she knew these girls' weaknesses. Even that other girl who liked Owen, that was her coach through and through. So she knew these girls' weaknesses, and she knew these other people's weaknesses and how they show up in the dynamic. So I would say a subtle way is the fact that they always find a way to be
presenting yourself as a trusting,
like building the trust.
I think oftentimes it also looks like presenting yourself as the only one that you can trust.
That's another one. I also saw that making it normal that age gap relationships, or that it's not normal, or that it's not abnormal.
Normalizing it.
Thank you. Normalizing that my role in your life, or they said like us versus them mentality. Creating this thing of like, they won't understand our special relationship, right? Like they're not gonna, they don't see, how mature that you are. So also elevating them to a certain level of like maturity, and then
letting them do things that their parents didn't know wouldn't do. So for example, just have a little sip of that drink. I won't tell them. Or you can come to my house. My house is the fun one. We let them do free reign. I'm the cool mom. That type of thing. Oh, you could wear that. I don't see nothing wrong with that. You know how your mom is. You know how your mom can be.
You're looking real grown now. Your body is developing really nicely.
I feel like that's how it kind of started.
A handsome, what's it called, little boy. A handsome man. They'll start to do that. Oh, you're my little boyfriend. Like it'll be cute, small little things with language. And even something as subtle as cutting Owen's steak to little pieces in front of his mother. That's the part to me, but it's so
subtle that I think that in hindsight is 2020, right? So I think that like people can look at the behavior as weird now because something more egregious
because there was a context that was
about her. But in the moment, it did not feel weird because she positioned herself as a trusting person and someone that not only the kids can trust,
it's like, oh, she's
but
just
also
being
the
a mom.
parents can trust.
She's just being a mom, right? Because like she has her own daughter, and so she's cutting up his whatever. That's like. Like that, they'll laugh it off. It's something that people will easily just laugh off.
But I think Owen's mom picked up on the predatory part, because when we were discussing that, and she was like,
But it sounds like I don't know if it was editing because it sounds like she didn't pick up on it until afterwards.
After it was all revealed, and she was like, she's going to my son's game. She's going to this, even when they broke up.
But she made it a family thing. And that's how she had
Mm-hmm.
presented it to Owen's mom. Was like, hey, like, oh, you guys are going to Arizona for his softball thing. Hey, let's make it a family thing. Let's all go.
And she makes sure she got close. She groomed mom too. Me and mom became best friends.
Yes,
and
that's another way, right?
Adult.
What's it called? Involving themselves in your parents' life as a trusted person, as an available
even the
person,
parents got
as a
groomed.
supportive person.
Yeah,
Exactly.
even the parents can get groomed as much as the child can get groomed.
Exactly.
And then you saw that in those cases. But I think she was the only one after everything was revealed. Owen's mom was picked up like, this is like inappropriate behavior.
Yeah.
You literally
and I think they do kind of like
preyed
subtle,
on my son.
Yeah, like subtle compliments that like a young impressionable mind would appreciate.
Yeah.
Like they maybe start small, but there's some ways to like build the person up and like position them in a space where like you're more mature or you're not like these other kids. Things to kind of like isolate and like make them feel validated.
And that's why I think
fucked
female predators like take on such a unique kind of like role when it comes to the grooming process, because like if your friend's mom, comes up to you and is like, hey, like take a pose for me, like like type of thing, right? You'll pose because you don't see anything of it. Oh, that's my friend's mom. Take a picture. And then it's like, oh, like, let's take a picture together. You see how slowly, gradually, I'm going to do something. Okay, see how you respond. Then let me do something a little bit more and let me see how you respond.
Yeah,
and then it's just
like
slowly but surely to the point where then something kind of bigger happens, but you've already like created
it's okay type of
Yes,
energy.
but think about how sometimes the kid don't even know.
Most times the kid doesn't know.
Because if you really think about it, teenagers sometimes, it used to be glorified like, oh, I think Miss Teacher such and such is sexy, or I think such and such mom is sexy, or they're this, but they don't know if such and such mom's giving them compliments or doing the same thing and say, you handsome too. If I was young, they think some of that stuff, they don't look at it as praying. Yeah, a child don't know like you praying on me, this is inappropriate. A child thinking like you giving me attention until it gets too far and they realize, oh, like, that physical contact, which was lacking. So that's why Kendra played a really good like she knew the line not to cross. Right. You know what I mean?
And anonymity is what helped her because yes, she did some of that grooming, maybe potentially when she was Kendra the mom, but really in the documentary, the messaging, right? There's an anonymous factor of I don't know who this is, so I can really fully. I don't have to
pretend or tiptoe. I can
straight up
just
smoothly,
say
and that's what she said. That's why it felt so like, girl, what are you saying?
And that's why it felt so off to me that they really didn't push further for sexual harassment, at least, because the nature of the messages was stuff like.
They're talking about sucking, giving oral sex. They're talking about what's it called, penetrating without and it's like she said, 20 to 50 messages a day.
Right.
That's the part, a day.
Like you can tell she had no job doing that shit.
She had no fucking job after
but
that.
So that's why they assumed it was a child.
Right. Because who has time for that?
What adult would be home?
So then when it started, the dots started to connect when it's like, oh, you've been let off from your job. You don't have all of these things.
You always at the school. You quick to come to the school.
And that's where the stalking happened because they said in the Cut article that like she would be caught multiple times in the parking lot of the school using, because the Wi-Fi would extend past the school into the parking lot so kids could do their homework. So she would always be in the parking lot. And they would like ask you why you're there, and she would use Lauren. Well, Lauren's having a hard time. Lauren's, I just want to be here for her just in case something happens. So she was even doubled down further, knowing that your kid was feeling this way. You had to be also in the vicinity. That's also another thing is that a predator can't stay too far away from their victim.
They can't.
For sure. They have to monitor and make sure that things are in line.
In the mix. And another thing to look at is if someone starts to act uncharacteristically jealous or envious of something,
Yeah.
If like because another thing that Owen's mom ended up saying later is that she kept asking her questions about who Owen was dating.
Right.
Kept wanting to know about the new
relationship,
girlfriend, the new family and all that. And she said, I had to cut her off because she was like, I'm not talking about that. Like we need to, discuss certain things then. I think at that point it was like, it's weird and odd.
Yeah.
But in the grander scheme of things, we're trying to figure out who this unknown number is.
And she positioned herself as someone who was helping.
Yes.
So that it wouldn't look like it was her, obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a question for you all as therapists. What are your thoughts about how you would approach things if Kendra was your client?
Well, one of the things that I have seen people do, especially, for example, like if it's physical abuse or domestic abuse, like when therapists are working with the perpetrator, they have to get the perpetrator in contact with their agenda, not the distorted view of what they thought they were doing. Because a lot of men who are the the perpetrators of physical abuse will say, I was trying to protect my wife. I was trying to protect my girlfriend, or I was just trying to get her to understand me. And the therapist is usually like, so how did beating her do that? Because when she got out of the car, she wasn't in danger. There wasn't anybody around her. You hit her because you wanted to control her. So I think if I was Kendra's therapist, there would need to be some reality testing and being able to get you in contact with your agenda and what was really there in order for you to get true healing.
Yeah. I think that when working with clients who show up with these particular things, like they also show up in the therapy space in a performative way, right? Okay. And so I think that it can be really difficult as a therapist to like really know who your client is. And usually there will be some signs that like this person is perhaps not, that people trip up, right? Like, and so when being aware and like observing really helps to like notice those small nuances. Like maybe this person isn't showing up as truthful. I think that for me, I would find it really difficult to manage my own emotions about being tricked. If she were to be my client, if she were to be my client and I were to find out that it was her that was sending the messages, I would have to do a lot of my own work around like not showing up in the session in the way that's accusatory and pissed off. Yeah. Cause I'm like,
well, I was exposed to this. So y'all know one of my first clients was a predator.
Yeah.
So I would say this is one of the hardest things. That's why I'm a little bit of me is kind of silent about it. I think because I am a child advocate. And when it comes to like hearing people causing any sorts of harm to children, it does bother me. But I also thought it was a great lesson for me and my mentor. I will always say like, I'm like, they say no our biases. That's top of my bias.
Definitely.
Sir, when I told
have
you.
biases
and then I'm like, what is the chance that my first job gave me? A predator. I read the assessment like, I don't think I'm fit for this case. Like
immediately.
Return. I can't. Out of my scope.
But the manager was like, why not? I'm like, did you ask for our biases? I was like, this is a bias. So what I learned and the way I had to tackle this, and of course I was also in supervision at that time, so I definitely had coaching, but even having them afterwards, because I've had a couple after that, is it really start to Stephanie's point around first getting them in contact with the fact of what happened.
Yeah. What happened.
What happened and what they believe actually happened.
Right.
So it came with that for us in understanding that, but it also came down to understanding their upbringing and where did this behavior that is normal, that they deemed as normal, where did that come from? And majority of the time, what you will learn, in order for someone to end up preying on someone, they were also preyed on.
Oh, sure.
So because they were preyed on, that's how the behavior was normalized, right? And then you have to work from helping them understand this was not normal behavior and therefore have to unlearn. It doesn't take away the urges because they're still going to have the urges. They're still going to have that, but they become more aware of noticing when these urges are showing up and looking at the fact, is this when we put air quote appropriate behavior, which I call a reality behavior, or is this my behavior that I deem appropriate? So if Kendra were to be a client of mine, it would first start with that, and also looking at the fact with her in particular is what was missing. Or what did she need in order to feel adequate, to feel like she was sufficient?
Yeah.
So whatever attention she was not getting from her parents or inadequacy, that message turned into not being enough. And if you look to the cousin, it was like always showing like I needed this, I needed that. There's a
but always
function
getting
to her
looking for
behavior,
attention.
So there's a function behind that behavior, and we got to understand how did that functioning happen. I also believe that she also believed, which most predators who prey on children is believe that she still had this childlike mind.
I was just about to say, I think
so she
from
still
even the way
this
that she speaks and like conceptualize certain things lets me know that she's developmentally younger than what she looks like chronologically, right?
Exactly.
And it could be because, like you said, she herself had maybe been violated before that sexual trauma that she had at 17 years old, right? Because I think about like sexual health, right? Or sexual development also plays a big like deal in understanding like what is appropriate versus not appropriate.
Yeah.
And I even kind of question a little bit what you said there is that I believe that many child predators know that it's not normal.
Yeah,
and and the reason why I know that is because of like society, even though society, I'm not going to lie, kind of has a little bit of like pedophilia sewn into
there's kind of like
fabric
grooming
of, like,
or
how we do stuff just in terms of like how we will sexualize certain kids things or like present it in a way where we're exposing kids to adult themes very early. Because I mean, I think our generation of folks were very much groomed when it came to the media. When you look at Cartoon Network, when you think of, you know, some of the advertisements they had
the
around
messaging that we received was
like
very much
toys
like,
and certain things it had a sexual undertone that our brains didn't understand in a conscious way, but subconsciously it was laying bricks, right? So I think that she already knew that was like not okay because she went out of her way to sidestep those questions when the interviewers would ask her about her level of attractiveness. Or what I think that the Netflix documentary could have done better was to discuss the text messages that she engaged with Owen. They talked a lot about like, yes,
you told your daughter to kill herself.
You told her to do that. But what about how was telling Owen that people want to do this with him and that, you know, we're going to take you away from what was the function of that? How was that supposed to get you the name of the person that was quote unquote stalking them and hurting them?
Right. But the truth is, to your point, they always know that's the whole point of the cover up.
Right.
So there would be no need to cover up if they felt like this was normal.
Yeah.
So they always know it's not normal.
Yeah.
Now what becomes skewed is when they get into their psyche and their mind when they're in the thick of it. Then they start that's the different world part around.
They start making sense of it. Like it's okay for this to happen.
Do this,
or avoiding it completely.
But when I snap out of it, I got to cover it up because outside of that world, the reality, there's a sense of this is not okay. I can get in trouble for this.
I think that's tough. And that makes the job of the therapist really hard because there is this fine line between empathy for someone's trauma and accountability.
Yeah.
Like you are still accountable for your actions, even if they are a result of your trauma responses.
Yes.
Yes.
And so bringing clients in contact with that who maybe are predators, or like I've had clients who were perpetrators and victims, right? And so bringing clients in contact with like, yes, this is maybe what exposed you or normalized this behavior, and you can also be accountable for you choosing to engage in that. It's tough. Those are really hard conversations, and it takes a lot of work from the therapist and sometimes even having your own therapist to be like,
for sure.
whew.
But I think the form of practice of therapy that we do as behavioral therapists, as trauma therapists, is around the fact that accountability is huge in what we do, accountability for ourselves, and we teach our clients accountability for themselves. I think for me, the way I do that is like, I always tell the techniques, like you have to own the action that you're choosing to take. So if you are a pedophile, I am a pedophile because I preyed on and eventually coming to that term, like this is what you are.
At least an acknowledgement of the action that was taken. And I also, to be frank, I'm pretty sure that further like study in terms of as if you were a clinician or a therapist would benefit you. I do believe they have particular classes and particular like approaches to dealing with sexual predators, not the victims, the predators. It takes a whole
because if you look at sex trafficking, predators.
I was gonna say when you're working, I think about like rehabilitation services for like folks who have been have been charged with sexual assault. They need to go usually to some kind of rehabilitation program, and that has a different scope when it comes to treatment than when you're dealing with a victim.
I also, unfortunately, I think that many people who are predators, you will find them in helping professions.
Yes. Because that also allows them to execute and follow through.
And allows a trust. Like like this certain, we revere our helping professionals, doctors, therapists, people that work in like juvenile facilities and things like that. And so these like people are
teachers,
teachers,
even like what's called counselors, coaches. I think about like even family friends. Like it could be something as like, oh, like my mom's best friend, my mom's what's it called? Brother, like my dad's golf buddy, like type of thing. Like they will show up in places where you'll have a lot more access, to victims, but you can find them anywhere. What do you guys think about like, how can a parent, what do they want to look out for to see if their child has been what's it called, abused sexually in a physical manner, or has been abused sexually in like an emotional or mental manner?
Yeah, I think that one thing that we brought up before is being curious. Many times there will be some sort of shift in behavior. I think that sometimes people can really get wrapped up in like what that behavior is and kind of not as curious about why that behavior is showing up. So some key things is like social withdrawal is often one. Like when they start to maybe like center their lives around that particular person, especially if it's some sort of adult or authority, when this person kind of seems to be like very centered in their lives in a way that doesn't seem appropriate for their relationships. When other physical things, like sometimes people that experience physical abuse will have physical or sexual abuse. They will begin to like, they'll see stuff like bedwetting at a very late age.
Excessive masturbation as well too, like, or even masturbating earlier than what makes sense.
But excessive hypersexuality too. And I think that one is a behavior that is often especially for girls that is shamed quite often. Yes, like they're fast or they're acting out or they're doing this. I think that like even when I was in high school, there was like this is so terrible, but there was like a girl who was like lining them up, giving people blowjobs in the bathroom. And all the adults were in a uproar about how she was fast, how she was this, how she was that.
But nobody took time to explore where did she pick up the
Not a single person asked, is this girl being fucking abused? Like, you can suck dick a lot of places. Why is it at school?
Right.
Like, there's just a lot of.
But even the sucking of the dick is not something that, depending on the age, is not something that is widely cast. I think there's this like thing of like, oh, high schoolers are sexual beings. I think that's also part of the grooming and the over sexualization
that they're supposed to be hypersexual.
I don't think most kids, if they are, growing up with the healthy amount of monitoring, a healthy amount of like self-confidence, and don't feel like they have to do something to get social clout, they're not just being like, let me have sex, let me do these things.
Another subtle thing is with your child, whether they're For girls, it'll show up if they used to dress one way and all of a sudden they're dressing differently.
Yes.
So
Can
the
you
way
give an
kids,
example?
the way kids do self-expression is through our clothing. Think about us, right? So for example, if you have a child that used to cover up a lot and all of a sudden they don't want to cover up so
Crop
much,
tops,
or they're
booty
crop
shorts,
tops, or
makeup.
they're doing makeup and so forth and so on. If you have, if it's a son, if you have him used to just not care, and all of a sudden, you know, they're caring about how they look, they're going to the gym more, or there might be some eating disorder stuff that comes up.
Yes,
you know?
and that I'm glad that you brought that up, right? Because the correlation between like disordered eating and abuse is very close and not often talked about. But eating, the things that you consume, is controllable, right?
Yes.
And so when you have an experience towards your body that is out of control, it's very easy to attach to things that are within your control. So you will see a lot of restrictive eating, a lot of binging, purging with people who have been abused.
Yeah, because especially feel like, because when we're going back to some behavioral markers, is that mentally their scope on themselves will shift. They feel like they're disgusting. They feel like they're ugly. They feel like they are worthless now because this thing was taken from them. So hence why they might punish themselves by restricting food or by overeating as a way to match that level of disgust that they feel on the inside, you know, with themselves.
There might also be an increase in weight gain. Because sometimes with girls, we'll see that they want to be unattractive to whoever their abusers and their predators are. So whatever they know that the predator and abuse don't like, then there might be an increase in that, to be unattractive to that predator. Another subtle thing that I think to look at is we don't pay attention to our kids' bodies as much. So therefore, your child would tell you without telling you if they're uncomfortable around someone. So they may not want to go to that person's house no more. They may not want to sit next to this person. One thing that was huge is, I think in our culture, Caribbean-wise, that we are told to, you know, kiss our elders on the cheeks and so forth and so on.
Forcing your kids to kiss and hug people.
Don't force your kids to kiss and hug someone. I think my parents are really good around that. If I wasn't comfortable with, like, you know, hugging someone or kissing someone, I was allowed to wave or say hi, you know, things like that. So be very mindful of encouraging touches with your child and an adult that they may not feel comfortable with. And then also, I want to say it really pains me to say this, but just like we saw in this documentary, is that the fact that the person that the child may also feel unsafe with can be a parent who's also preying on them. So if they don't have an outlet, if it's a single parent household or if it's a double parent, the other parent have to be mindful in having a relationship with their child as well. Before that child suffers in silence. If it's a single parent household, I would say if there's an auntie or teacher or friend who pays, you know, even having a relationship and playing close relationship with that. Because the truth is, as we saw in this documentary, is that the predator was a parent.
And from what I have seen,
and majority of the time,
and isolated her from
majority
other
of the
supports.
time, predators are people
Some
that
that
we
you
know,
trusted people who are close.
There you go.
And so that also kind of like, to me, is a key to look out for, right? So not only is that person not feeling comfortable around a perpetrator, right? They might be excessively comfortable, right? Maybe sitting
like
in their
really
lap, maybe
attached.
holding on them. And instead of kind of like what you had said earlier, villainizing the child, being a bit more curious about how especially if the adult is not making any moves to chill the kid out or to redirect the behavior. You're over here saying something to the kid. Why did the adult not deem it as something that was inappropriate? I also think about when we look at hypersexuality, I think people only think about like the act of like, oh, they're giving head or they're having sex, but it could be watching porn. It could be what's it called, masturbating a lot. It could be talking about sex a lot, like more than
their language changed.
Like their language has changed. They're speaking about things in a way that you yourself have never exposed them to. So now they're bringing up things, or like you said, dressing in a certain way. I thought there's this, I think, Law and Order episode, and there was this boy. He was very, very obese, and it kind of speaks to what you said about like he would eat and eat and eat in hopes that his the perpetrator would not touch him or would not do anything. It came to at the end that it was his mother who was the one that had been touching him and abusing him and things of that nature, and you could see. Whenever she would be like nice to him or like kind, I'm like, oh, my little, because they would be like almost infantilizing him the way that she would speak to him. Yeah. He would like kind of like flinch or like kind of like not want to be away or like have a very loud reaction. And it would be like, well, why are you treating your mom like that? Why are you acting like that? Because my mom is doing things and touching me in ways that is making me very uncomfortable, making me feel very unsafe, making me feel like I want to jump out of my skin. Yeah. So boys can also take on those same, going to the gym, but they could also be eating a lot as a means aggression. To kind of deal with the stress and the discomfort of just like dealing with that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, this was a really interesting conversation. I think it provided some perspective. And wanting to really take away from it that being curious is really the key, right? Like asking more questions and really like being observant too, like not being so wrapped up in your own life that you don't really see changes and significant things that are going on with kids.
Yeah. This was a good conversation. I appreciate that.
I agree.
All right, let's get into our listener letter.
Go for it.
I'm frustrated with therapy because it feels like my therapist avoids giving me direct, honest answers and instead guides me in ways that feels manipulative or vague. I'd rather have an advisor who can answer my questions objectively and clearly so that I can better understand myself. Honestly, I feel strangers online are more straightforward than professionals. Is there a type of therapy where you actually get clear, direct feedback?
Maybe you're not looking for therapy.
Okay, that's what took the words out of my mouth.
I mean, I think I was thoroughly educated earlier this week about the differences between life coaching and therapy. And maybe they're looking for more life coaching.
An advisor. We're not here to tell you what to do with your life, okay? We're here to help you decide what is best and suited for you based on what you desire, what your values are, and where you're trying to go. If we were to trust me, y'all, if we were to really be honest with you and answer you honestly,
the license gone.
The license would be gone, and you probably would be like, "Who the fuck am I now?"
But also, let's be frank. Let's not act like many of the things that you come to your therapist looking for.
You don't already know the answer to,
and like people haven't already told you. So it's less about like, let me actually not say that. It's not that you don't need an answer and are unsure about the answer, but I think that it's not a lack of answers out there that haven't already been given to you. It just doesn't fit right. You don't understand how it's connected to your own value system, or maybe you just don't want to put in the effort to do that particular suggestion. So we could suggest all day long. But if you're not connected to it, because it didn't come from you.
Yeah. And I think that an effective therapist will establish the boundaries and expectations of the therapeutic process very early on in your relationship. That should be something that is discussed within your evaluation, your first couple of sessions, as you all are working towards whatever goal or desired outcome that you're looking for. That's definitely a part of the conversation. You should be getting information on what kind of therapy they're providing, what kind of services, what they can expect from you as the client, and what you can expect from them as the clinician. And so very early on, I'm telling my clients that my job is to put myself out of a job. This is not something that is going to go on and on and on forever. I'm not someone who is going to be on retainer months and months after you're really in a
Maybe
space
not.
where you can handle this shit on your own.
Yep.
And you can just call me to check in.
Yeah.
That is not the same as therapy.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm always telling people up front, my job is to put myself out of a job and get you to a space where you're able to sustain life on your own.
Bet.
Therapy will not stop pain from happening.
Exactly.
Therapy will not stop life from happening.
Exactly.
But it can teach you how to tolerate really difficult moments and shift towards a life that is valuable to you.
Exactly.
Shift towards things that work for you. And so very many people who are misled about what therapy is will come in initially with this fix it behavior. I've got a problem, help me fix it. And there can be frustration that shows up for a client when they're not getting that. And they have not accepted that this is not going to fix me.
Right. And
Or
I think
all
it
the
goes
things
back.
are there and the frustration is still present. Right? I did all the work. I've done all the right things. I've done all the therapy. And yet I'm still having a frustrating relationship with my parents. I'm still feeling like work isn't enough for me. But that is just part of living.
Yeah. But I think two things. To your point that you were making, Tyler, is around the fact that it's the type of service you are seeking.
Yes.
Know that it may not be therapy. It may be life coaching. It may be an advisor. It may be something.
Mentorship.
But
a
mentorship,
friend.
exactly. So be mindful of the service that you are seeking. Second, life is always going to life. But the problem that we all see with clients is that we don't want to experience pain. We want to get rid of things. We want to be okay and be normalized. Be okay that you're okay may not meet your standard and expectation of what that okay is. And if that's the case, there's nothing a therapist or anybody can do. There's an acceptance of yourself and where you are that you may need to do first beforehand. Because a lot of times where you say, well, the therapist is not answering, the therapist is not being direct. Yes, it is dependent on the form of therapy, but knowing what are you seeking that you're not trusting yourself for, and because you're not trusting yourself, then is that thing you're seeking is going to be something you're able to handle, or is something that is also going to give you this life that you believe that you want to have.
And I think that there are certain parameters that make it a therapeutic service versus like I'm having a kiki with my friend.
Thank you.
But and I also think that like we are skewed, guys, because we are DBT.
Sure, we're behavioral therapists.
But there are plenty of therapists who practice talk therapy, and the fact that you are going to come into my office and you are going to vent, and I am going to use certain kind of like validation, therapeutic like language that allows you to feel open to continue to vent. If that is not the type of therapy that you're looking for, it is on you to be the one to communicate that to your therapist to give you a different experience. But you can't go in there.
Give you a different experience or referral.
Right. Like wanting to get answers or wanting to work on specific behaviors or wanting to have different skills, but not communicating that and hoping that you're just going to fall into a solution. And to me, that is like a bigger issue than just like, like in therapy. That probably is something that you have a problem with doing in other areas where you don't tell people very clearly and concisely what you need from them. Instead of hoping they'll just provide it for you.
I think that's tricky too, right? Because we work with very many people who have interpersonal issues and they don't have the skills to say what they want. I think that I work on that piece with my clients quite a bit, and I encourage them to practice that in the therapy space, right? So if you are already struggling with being able to communicate what your needs are, I'm not assuming that you'll just magically be able to make that happen in the therapy space, but I make intentional time for that. I ask my clients openly for feedback when I maybe suggest that they practice things, or I'm actively asking them how they experience me. I'm leaving the space open for like, I expect for you to tell me how you experience me as a therapist because I'm working for you. Like
a therapist should not be giving you an opinion.
They might provide you with some suggestions. They might, provide you with some strategies, and they might, potentially steer you with some questions that are connected to what you have already reported to be important to you. But more times than not, your therapist and you don't have the same learning history or background. So what they would do is not always something that will align with your circumstances.
Right. So if you find a therapist that said, here's what I would do, or if I were you, if there's a lot of that going on, that's a red flag.
That is a red flag. I think I've also had clients who have openly shared with me, like I've had situations where people have come to me and said, like, this is not necessarily, I don't think that I'm getting what I want from the therapy space, and struggled with accepting my response to that. I think that my response is often like, let's unpack that a little bit more. What is it that you're really looking for? What is my responsibility in offering that to you? But also, what is your responsibility in bringing that to me, right? And I remind people that I can only work with what you're bringing me.
You ain't
so
give me
if
nothing.
you're not coming prepared to engage in therapy, we're not going to make progress.
Well, how do you deal with the people that are like, well, isn't therapy supposed to be? Because I feel like that is what I see the rhetoric is online. Is that like, well,
Your
therapy is supposed to be
I've
like this, that, and the third. And my therapist did this. And I always my question is always, to what degree did you bring that up with your therapist and problem solve for yourself versus coming to the internet to vent about it without doing any of the legwork?
I straight up saw a comment that was like, it's lazy for your therapist to ask you what you want to talk about in session. And I'm like, has this person ever been to therapy before? Because it really is like, I think that when you come in with a mentality that this person is supposed to fix me, you are also absorbing yourself of responsibility for your own actions and change. And I always try to stress to my client that even if you did not shit on your lawn, you have to pick it up. So whether it is your fault or not, you have to be responsible for the parts that you can control and that you can change. We could talk about everybody else, but what it really comes down to when it comes to change is what you have control over. And that's only yourself. So even the therapist can only do but so much.
Exactly.
But I think that what helps kind of smooth that conversation over when clients really struggle with that is like me as a therapist being accountable, right? Like perhaps I'm not providing the service that you're looking for. I'm secure enough in my position as a therapist and like what kind of service that I provide to be able to say that. I'm hearing that you're wanting this. Unfortunately, this is the service that I provide. And I would be more than willing to help you to find a provider.
And that's what a good therapist do.
That.
We are open to refer. I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
That's it.
And once you express that I'm not your cup of tea, that's all
okay.
Great. It is so good.
It's not personal.
I'm gonna help you find somebody. That's
it's
what
not
a good therapist. It's not personal. We ain't. So
yeah,
I think you're seeking the wrong services. Whoever.
I think maybe you're looking for something other than therapy.
And thankfully, like there are a myriad, a variety of different
There's something out there for you.
Therapists out there and types of approaches out there. You just need to find the one that works well for you. So please do your searching if it's not fitting.
This has been so good to our spirit. This has been so good that when y'all listen to it, it's going to be so good for you too. And because it's going to be so good for you, wherever you listen to us, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, whether it's YouTube, we want you to like, we want you to subscribe, we want you to leave us comments and let us know your thoughts and what you're thinking. Okay? And these listeners' letters, we want to have them keep coming.
Send us more.
So send us more. And you could reach us and email us on
Couch Chronicles, TAD@gmail.com.
And this has been another wonderful episode.
See you next time. Bye.